Have you ever heard of Eswatini, the smallest country in the southern hemisphere, and one of the most unique countries in the world? Nestled between South Africa and Mozambique, Eswatini is like a forgotten gem, yet it holds wonders that you won't find anywhere else on Earth. With an area of just about 17,364 square kilometers, roughly the size of the state of New Jersey in the US, don't let its size fool you. Within this small space lies a treasure trove of natural beauty and unique culture. The geographical location of Eswatini is what makes this country special. From the lush green highlands of the Highveld, where you can enjoy a cool climate year-round, to the pleasant Middelveld, which is ideal for agriculture. And if you love adventure, the Lowveld region, with its tropical climate and numerous wildlife reserves, will make you feel like you're living in a National Geographic documentary. And don't forget, the climate here changes like a Swiss clock. The rainy season lasts from October to March, while the dry season runs from April to September, making it the perfect time to explore the mysterious nature of this country. The country's name is also an interesting point. In 2018 it officially changed its name from Swaziland to Eswatini to assert its distinct identity and avoid confusion with Switzerland. Eswatini means Land of the Swazi, a proud declaration of heritage and cultural identity. Eswatini has a population of about 1.2 million people, even fewer than some small cities in the US. But the cultural diversity here is remarkably rich. Over 90% of the population are Swazi, speaking Siswati, a Bantu language with distinctive click sounds that you won't find in any other language in the world. Interestingly, in addition to Siswati, English is widely spoken, making it easy for tourists to communicate. Number 11. Flying witches above 492 feet is illegal. When you think of witches, you might immediately picture spooky fairy tales or magical Hollywood movies. But in Eswatini, a small yet rising country in Africa, witches take on a whole new meaning. That's right. Here, witches don't ride broomsticks, they actually refer to modern airplanes and drones. Sounds like a joke? Not at all. Eswatini has an official law stating that witches are not allowed to fly higher than 492 feet, about 150 meters. While this law may seem humorous, it is a serious legal regulation put forth by the government to manage airspace safety, particularly targeting unmanned aerial vehicles, drones. Interestingly, while countries like the US or the UK often allow drones to fly up to 400 to 492 feet to avoid conflicts with commercial airspace, Eswatini has set a specific and very strict limit. And you wouldn't want to violate this law, as the penalty can reach up to 500,000 lilangeni, around $35,000 US. This amount is enough to make anyone, whether a drone operator or an anonymous flying witch, think twice before considering flying high. However, here's the most surprising part. Eswatini still has about 50 commercial flights landing each week. Most of them fly at an altitude of around 10,000 meters, about 33,000 feet, which is 66 times higher than the limit set for witches. So, do these flights face penalties? The answer is no. In fact, this quirky regulation only applies to small aircraft or drones, while international commercial flights, which adhere to international aviation safety standards, can freely fly over Eswatini without worrying about any magical fines. Number 10. The world's largest wife selection event. Every year at the end of August, as summer in Africa begins to wind down, one of the most unique festivals on the planet takes place in Eswatini, the Umhlanga Festival, dubbed the largest wife selection event in the world. This event attracts over 50,000 young girls from across the country, all converging in the cultural capital Lubamba, hoping to change their lives in just 8 days. Visitors to Eswatini often share a common observation. This country retains the soul of Africa in the most traditional sense. Images of tribes, festivals, vibrant clothing, wild dances, and religious rituals remain intact, untouched by modernization. Swazi men typically wear mahia, wraps around their bodies, combined with feathered jewelry symbolizing bravery and status. Meanwhile, the young girls participating in the festival continuously innovate to make their outfits stand out, as catching the king's attention could change their lives forever. But it's not just the daughters of former presidents you might encounter, you could even meet some extraordinary characters. Imagine if you were lucky enough to marry a beautiful and successful girl, or at least secure a high position here. But it's not just your thoughts. Many others share the same mindset, from local men to international tourists. That's right, This isn't just the king's wife selection, it could be any man's opportunity from around the globe. This seems to explain why the girls here leave feeling happy and fulfilled, even if they weren't chosen by the king. In fact, many girls come not to seek the king's attention but choose to participate or find themselves unable to meet the requirements to continue in these 8 days, instead, looking for a foreign guy. Simply put, if we wanted Swazi men, there'd be no reason to travel so far. So, regardless of where a man is from, he seems more interesting to them than becoming the king's 17th wife. What do you think about this festival? Would you want to visit? If so, comment with the number 4, or how about some tips to win over these girls faster? If you're interested, comment with the number 8, and we'll share more in the comments below. Number 9. 2. Separate capitals. Have you ever imagined a small country that has 2 distinct capitals, each with its own unique story? Indeed, Eswatini is one of the rare countries in the world that boasts 2 unique centers of power, Mbabane and Lobamba. Starting your journey in Mbabane, the administrative and commercial capital of Eswatini, you'll be amazed by the modern atmosphere of this vibrant city. At an elevation of 1,243 meters, 4,078 feet, above sea level, this city offers a cool, pleasant climate year-round, a stark contrast to the typical heat of many other African nations. Known as the financial heart of Eswatini, Mbabane is a hub of bustling shopping centers, modern cafes, and colorful streets. You'll easily find traditional craft shops selling exquisite pottery and hand-woven paintings rich in African culture. Just a short drive of under an hour away from the hustle and bustle of Mbabane, you'll arrive in Lobamba, the cultural and legislative capital of Eswatini. In stark contrast to the modernity of Mbabane, Lobamba is where the essence of Swazi culture is preserved. It's not only home to Eswatini's parliament and the royal palace, but also the heart of the country's most vibrant traditional festivals. Every year, thousands of people from around the world flock here to witness the Umhlanga festival, a celebration deeply rooted in Swazi heritage. Number 8, Swazi men are paid to propose to multiple women at once. In most countries around the world, marrying a wife means you'll have to spend more. But in Eswatini, the opposite is true. Marrying multiple wives can actually help men receive houses and money from the king. That's right, you heard it correctly. In 2019, rumors spread that King Mswati III had ordered all men in the country to marry at least 2 wives or risk going to jail. According to these rumors, the government would cover the entire cost of marrying a wife, housing, and provide financial support for those who followed the king's example. Although the government later denied this information, the truth is that men in Eswatini wanting to marry multiple wives must pay a hefty price. Interestingly, to marry multiple wives, Swazi men must demonstrate their wealth, not in cash or gold, but through livestock. In traditional culture, livestock is a measure of wealth and is known as lobala, bride price. A typical marriage usually requires 10 head of cattle as a bride price, but if the bride is the daughter of a chief, the number can double or even more. When you step foot in Eswatini, one thing will immediately stand out about the women here. If you encounter girls with long, shiny hair or intricately styled hairstyles, that's definitely a sign of unmarried women, young, free, and full of life. But the surprise comes when you see a woman with a completely shaved head. That's not a bold fashion trend or a personal statement. In Eswatini, it symbolizes a widow, someone who has lost their partner. What's even stranger is that while modern society values personal freedom and self-expression through fashion, in Eswatini, women must adhere to strict dress codes. Short skirts, tight pants, off-the-shoulder outfits, all are deemed inappropriate, especially in rural areas or at traditional events. Instead, they wear mahaya, long wrap skirts that reach the ankles, reflecting modesty and respect for traditional values. However, the most interesting part is that at cultural festivals like Umhlanga, you'll witness an intriguing paradox. Thousands of young girls dressed in traditional outfits with bare upper bodies dance to lively drum beats. Here, beauty is not tied to sensuality but to purity, strength, and the pride of Swazi women. Number 6, the only country that still follows an absolute monarchy in Africa. When most African countries embraced democracy after gaining independence, Eswatini remained true to its absolute monarchy. Today, it is the only country in Africa still ruled by a king with nearly unlimited power, a system that has largely disappeared worldwide. At the heart of this system, is King Mswati III, who ascended the throne in 1986 at just 18 years old, making him one of the youngest monarchs in history. Since then, he has ruled with complete authority, appointing ministers, controlling the parliament, and making all major national decisions. Unlike constitutional monarchies, where the king's power is symbolic, here, his word is law. While many criticize this system as outdated and oppressive, others argue that it helps preserve Swazi culture and keeps foreign political influences at bay. This unique governance structure also allows Eswatini to maintain its traditions without external pressures, but at the cost of limited political freedoms and occasional protests. Would you prefer living under a powerful king or a democratic system? Comment your thoughts below. Number 5. One of the last remaining polygamous kingdoms. Polygamy is a vanishing tradition in most parts of the world, but in Eswatini it remains a way of life, especially for the king himself. King Mswati III is one of the most polygamous rulers alive today with a total of 15 wives and over 35 children. However, his father, King Sobhuza II, took polygamy to another level, reportedly having 125 wives and over 200 children during his reign. In Swazi culture, having multiple wives is a sign of wealth, power, and responsibility. But contrary to what many might think, wives are not chosen forcefully. Instead, families often encourage their daughters to marry into royal or noble households, as this ensures a secure and prestigious life. Interestingly, while the king is expected to have many wives, ordinary men must prove their wealth before marrying multiple women, usually by offering cattle as a lobola, or bride price. The more cattle a man owns, the more wives he can afford. Would you support or oppose polygamy if it were part of your country's culture? Let us know in the comments. Number 4. The country that changed its name overnight. Imagine waking up one day and discovering that your country's name no longer exists. This is exactly what happened in Eswatini in 2018, when King Mswati III announced a sudden name change, turning Swaziland into Eswatini without prior notice or public consultation. This historic decision was made during the country's 50th independence anniversary, where the king declared that the name Swaziland was too colonial and should be replaced with something that reflects its true African identity. While the change was meant to restore cultural pride, many citizens were shocked, as this meant updating passports, government documents, and international agreements overnight, a costly and complicated process. Some even questioned whether the king should have consulted the people first. What do you think? Should a king have the right to change a country's name on his own? Let us know in the comments. Number 3. The landlocked kingdom with no army. Eswatini is one of the few countries in the world without a standing army, relying instead on a small paramilitary force and the police for security. Despite its location in a region that has experienced conflicts, Eswatini has managed to avoid war and maintain peace for decades. The reason? Strong diplomatic ties with its neighbors, particularly South Africa and Mozambique, which act as informal protectors. Rather than spending billions on military equipment, Eswatini focuses on education, agriculture, and healthcare, though some critics argue that more investment in security is needed. Would you feel safe in a country with no military? Comment below with your thoughts. Number 2. The highest HIV rate in the world. Eswatini holds a tragic world record. It has the highest HIV/AIDS prevalence rate on the planet, with over 27% of adults living with the virus. This crisis has had devastating effects, leading to reduced life expectancy, orphaned children, and an overburdened healthcare system. While the government has launched aggressive campaigns to combat HIV, including free testing, education, and widespread access to antiretroviral treatment, poverty and cultural beliefs continue to fuel the epidemic. On the positive side, Eswatini is also one of the global leaders in HIV treatment coverage, with nearly 90% of infected people receiving medication, a significant improvement over the past 2 decades. What do you think can be done to stop the HIV/AIDS crisis in Africa? Share your ideas in the comments. Number 1. The kingdom that never colonized, but still had to fight for freedom. While most African nations suffered under direct European colonization, Eswatini was never fully colonized, but it still had to fight for its sovereignty. During the late 19th and early 20th centuries, British and Boer forces competed for control over southern Africa, placing Eswatini under British protection. Unlike other African nations that faced brutal colonization, Eswatini retained some degree of autonomy, with its traditional monarchy never being completely dismantled. However, Eswatini still had to struggle for independence, finally gaining full sovereignty in 1968, but keeping its monarchy intact. This is why Eswatini remains one of the few African nations where a traditional kingdom coexists with modern governance. Would you prefer living in a monarchy that never fully lost its traditions, or in a country that underwent full colonization and became democratic? Let us know in the comments. Final thoughts. Eswatini may be small, but it's a land of deep traditions, royal power, and cultural mysteries. From the king's multiple wives to the world-famous Reed Dance Festival, this African kingdom is unlike any other. Which of these facts surprised you the most? Comment below and let's discuss. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Beyond Borders for more fascinating insights into the world's most unique countries.